kind of feel that after the series over. But when in the midst of this, you don't have time to think about that. It's enough to think about within the series.
Brian on the left.
Draymond, in the playoffs, it's very common, and I know you have to have your family around with you, especially in the playoffs, especially in the road. What is it like to be able to share this with your son? He's older now, maybe can appreciate what's going on more.
It's very important to not only share with my son, but my two daughters as well, my wife, my mom, my friends. After, if you would ask me this 3 years or 5 years ago, in the midst of a 5-year run, you think it's just normal and natural that you end up in this position, and then after the last 2 years, you just realize it's not guaranteed, and anything can happen in the blink of an eye that changes everything. And so you just understand that you don't have these opportunities often, and when you do, you have to enjoy them, embrace them, and share them with the people you love. This is the pinnacle of basketball. It doesn't get any bigger than the NBA Finals. And just to share these moments, with my family, with my children in particular, they're 7, 5, and 1. You want the pictures. You hope that when they are 15 that they remember this. But just to have these moments in the pinnacle of our careers, it's hard to really put it into words. It's such an incredible thing.
Chris on the left.
Draymond, in that same light, he actually took my question, but how fun has it been to grow up with Steph and Clay? And you guys look like babies then, and now where you're at, just the appreciation from them as well.
It's funny. We were sitting on the plane yesterday, and Steph, Clay, and I, we sit at the same table. And Bob walked past, and he like, man, you guys are funny. Y'all still sit together. He's like, y'all don't understand. It's 10 years, this does not happen. Guys still sitting together at the same table. He's like, guys not even on the same team for 10 years, let alone still sitting at the same table and enjoying each other's conversation and presence. I said that to say, this journey wouldn't be the same without those two guys for me. And Andre as well. Andre has been along the ride with us pretty much this entire time as well. But I couldn't imagine sharing this journey with anyone else. We've always said it, we built this thing from the ground up. And when you build something from the ground up, that's your baby. And I think for us, we all appreciate each other. We understand what each of us bring to the table. And our bond it stretches far past what we've accomplished on the basketball court. You're talking the bonds; those bonds will last forever. We're linked and connected together forever. So to know that we've been on this journey together now for 10 years is such a special thing, and the 10-year anniversary, if you will, to be in this position is great. Now, in saying that, still one win away. So as special as it is, there's a way to cap this all off, and it's coming in with the right focus and intensity level tomorrow, and being ready to try to close this thing out.
Shayna in the back.
Draymond, you mentioned point of attack defense about this series. How important has that been in winning the turnover battle and locking in defensively?
It's very important. I think with your point of when your defense is good at the point of attack, it allows your help defense to be there. There's no one person that can stop Jason Tatum. There's no one person that can stop Jaylen Brown. At times in this series, there has been no one person that can stop Marcus Smart. But if you put up force at the point of attack, then you allow your help to have the time to respond to wherever they need to be, or whatever it is they need to respond to, and get in the right position and help. And so I think that point of attack and just not giving up straight line drives is important, because it allows it to be a team defense as opposed to their one guy beating our one guy and getting a shot that they want.
Sam, back left.
Dre, along the same lines of your reflections on Steph and Clay and Andre, I'm curious your perspective on Coach, because you got the guy who took over from Mark Jackson, going from the analyst booth straight to the court. You get the guy who won the title with y'all in 2015, the KD years, and then 15 and 50, getting in the mud and trying to figure out a very different experience. How has he changed all the way through?
He's continued to grow. I think the number one change I've seen in Steve is his trust in his coaching staff. I think that's continued to grow, and not that he didn't always trust his coaching staff, because he has, and there's always been an open door policy since the day he's walked in here. But on a day-to-day basis, you can just kind of see how he's delegated, and how he's, the way he uses Mike Brown, the way he uses Kenny Atkinson, the way he uses Jamin, the way he uses Decky, the way he uses CD and Jacob Rubin, and it's on down the line. And I think that is the growth, and understanding, like, man, I am only as strong as this group that I have standing next to me. And the way that they've built that group out, I think, has been absolutely amazing. I think it's been a huge part to our run. And I think one of my favorite things that Steve brings to the table is he is a guy that knows what he doesn't know. And that's one of the best traits you can possess in this world, is being smart enough to know what you don't know. And Steve is absolutely incredible at that. He leaned on those guys for their strengths, and I think that's huge. And then his confidence, his confidence in knowing, like, we'll figure this out, and we'll go make some adjustments, and we're going to put y'all in the best position that we can to be successful, and just never being rattled. There are times where we get a little rattled as a team, and he's just right there, a steady force, like, hey, man, just calm down, settle down. And it wasn't always like that. It wasn't always where you never, ever see him rattled. And it's just like, now he's just in these moments, and that gives us so much confidence when you walk in a huddle, when you walk in a team meeting, when you walk on the bus, and he's just he's carrying himself with the confidence that he has. You feel invincible, and I think that's a huge thing in our growth. I think that's an area that Steve has really grown. Is he, you have coaches that gives players confidence, and you have coaches that don't. And I think he has really grown in that area to where he just gives guys confidence, and that's huge.
David on the right.
Dre, y'all have been in so many high-profile championship series against all-time players like LeBron over the years. Where would you say this series ranks in terms of the mental challenge of having to anticipate 3 steps down the road what Boston's going to do, and vice versa, trying to attack them 3 steps down the road?
Well, it doesn't compare to, like, mentally playing against LeBron James, who I think is arguably, one of the arguably smartest guy to ever play this game. Well, not one of. He's arguably the smartest guy to step foot on a basketball court. And so to say that it compares to that, it's disrespectful to LeBron, and it's a lie to you. Now, in saying that, it is a challenge mentally, because these guys are super athletic. They are super young and fast and strong. And all the things that we know and have heard throughout the course of the series, they are those things. And then obviously they're super talented. And so when you're facing that, you have to try to outthink a guy. If a guy is faster than me, how can I beat him to a spot? I have to anticipate, and I have to think. I have to try to understand what he's trying to get to. And so I think that's been huge in this series, from a mental standpoint, and just trying to understand and be a step ahead of them. But not as much of a chess match as it is when you're playing LeBron, who is dissecting every play in the computer of his, like, in real time. Like, that's just a skill that not many people possess. Not many people can come and sit here and find a random stretch from 7 minutes to 4 minutes in the second quarter and give you every play, like, to the T, and not miss a beat. There's not many people that can do that. Now, in saying that, they do have a guy over there, Marcus Smart, who is extremely smart, who it's like a chess match going up against him. And, he is kind of the brain of that team. I think every team, you kind of have that guy that's the brain of that team, and they have that in Marcus Smart, a guy who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, is his basketball IQ. And so it's a challenge for sure. Ime is extremely smart. We know his pedigree. So the challenge is there, but you can't put it up there against LeBron. Like I said, he's just probably the smartest guy we've ever seen play basketball.
Last one, Tanya in the middle.
If you can think back to 2015, the first time you were on this stage, do you remember if you were appreciating the moments, taking those photos that you're now talking about at that time?
No, it's all a blur. You're kind of just living in the moment and going, and you just kind of go with the flow. My life in 2015 was totally different than it is now, though. I didn't essentially have my own family, kids, wife. I was kind of a boy still, growing, and so my life is just in a totally different spot than it is now. So even the things that you appreciate, the things that I appreciate today, I didn't necessarily appreciate those things then. I didn't. In 2015, I hated taking pictures, and I didn't really put two and two together. Like, man, these memories are so important. In 2015, I was like still getting tired of pictures. Like, oh man, it's always a camera here and it's a camera there, as opposed to embracing all of these things, And so, I think it was a totally different space for me. I think it was a totally different space for all of us. But as you grow and you realize these things, they aren't promised, and you try not to take these things for granted, and understanding that you're probably closer to the end than you are the beginning. It's just a totally different. It's just a totally different appreciation that you have for these moments now as opposed to then.
Thank you, Draymond. Got Jordan heading up here next.